joining as well. So I appreciate everybody taking time today to jump in and be a part of this. So we're about, let's just call it 3 to 4 months into this new normal of a market. And I thought it'd be good. Look, we get trained to death and we can talk about what can you be trying, what can you be doing, but the best way to learn is to get out and perform the practice and then trial and error based on that experience. So I thought it'd be a great opportunity to bring us together as a group and then hear where people are succeeding and then, what things aren't working for people. So I'll start it and jump in, and I'm going to tell a story about a client we have, and then everybody can kind of jump in and share things that they're working for and then how they're kind of tailoring the rest of their year. So one thing that I've seen mixed messaging on is it's the idea of a low ball offer. Should buyers be writing them? How do sellers receive them? When do you write them? When do you not? And we've had a client who's an investor and he's pursued a couple opportunities in the last probably 30 days. And both times we've written offers, first week on the market, substantially below list price. And both times the sellers have asked for more time to consider the offers. And so in a market where we used to only pay at or substantially above list price, we're presenting offers to sellers substantially below list price, more aligned with true market value and the perception of it when you have a seller that's operating in the previous market maybe 6 months ago, right? So both times we've given them that opportunity to extend our deadlines and kind of see if something else comes in. The first time, the guy just, nothing ever came in. He denied our offer. He rejected it. And he's been sitting on the market for another 30 days, withering away as the snow falls. And my buyer continues to gain more and more leverage when we go back and present the next opportunity to that same seller. And that's great. I talked to the agent yesterday just to follow up. How's your experience going? How are you guys doing? Yeah, Alex, he's just sitting here. He's not listening to anything I'm saying. If it were up to me, they would be considering your offer. That's really good to know. We're still here. We still have interest. We don't take it personal. Business is business. If you guys get to that point, just call us back. We'll resubmit. We could get a deal done. That's awesome. The other opportunity that we had, we let them extend their deadline 24 hours with the thought of if another offer comes in higher than ours, great. We don't really care. What happened there is we got leveraged with another interested party, and this seller ended up getting about probably $20,000 more than they would have sold to us for just by using us as a piece of leverage. So, when you go back to what the market was, and one of the tactics that we often used when it started to be crazy is speed one, right? If you could go fast, if you could be the first person in the door, if you could write the offer quickly with great terms that were attractive to the seller, and you give them 12 hours, 16 hours, 8 hours, 2 hours sometimes, presenting those things, sometimes it would highly benefit your buyer, and that seller would panic and they would sign your deal. And so one of the things I don't think I would be opposed to when we're writing offers or when we're approaching these folks is that if you're going to lowball an offer and you're going to put it in front of somebody that's been on the market for less than 7 days, I wouldn't be afraid to tell that seller, hey, look, we're going to give you 24 hours. You either need to play ball or you can still sit. Because what would have happened in the instance that we lost out, our offer would have expired or they would have signed it or countered it. We would have either got a deal done close to a number that worked for us, or we would have walked away. And that seller would have ended up selling the house for substantially less to somebody else, or they wouldn't have got an offer at all. People want what they can't have. So that buyer came in behind us, knew that there was an offer, expected it to be a strong offer, and wrote close to list price when the property was probably $30,000 to $40,000 overpriced. Interesting tact, right? I don't think it's something that you need to be afraid of to submit lowball offers for investors or for buyers. I just think it's the education that you can get from the agent on the other end to say, hey, look, do you have interested parties? You've been on the market 7 days. What's your showing activity like? We have somebody that's interested, but at a lesser price. Oh, I would submit the offer. I would submit it, and I would not be afraid to give them 8, 12, 16 hours to try to leverage something for your buyer. Sellers are getting nervous. The more time they get, the more opportunity buyers can walk in the door. Don't be afraid to push that seller a little bit. Somebody else jump in, talk about some things they're working on, some things they're seeing. That's a little different now than what we used to experience in the market a couple months ago.
I'm just going to add on to what you just said by just a little. I don't need to share another example. My example is pretty similar to what you just said, but what I will say is November, December, and maybe even in January, if you couple that with what we're seeing in the market and the uncertainty from buyers and investors for that matter, I think there's even more leverage now through when we pick up steam again in the spring. So like I've been telling some of my clients who are on the fence, like now's really the time. And with our investor client that Alex is referring to, he's not emotional at all. He doesn't care if he wins or loses. He has to make the numbers work. So for him, we're putting these offers out there with the hope of scoring a slam dunk for him, but like it's fine if not. So I think for you guys, if you have clients who are actively looking and actively working, the message right now is to try and take advantage of the fact that there's so much uncertainty.
If your house is on the market the week of, the week before, the week during Thanksgiving, somebody has to sell. They have to sell their property. They've already bought something. They got a job transfer. They're downsizing, death, disease, right? There's things in their life that have forced them to put their house in the market. So I have a house that's going on the market Friday. I met him for the first time on Monday. Alex, we want the house on the market. We want to move in January. Okay. If we wait a week, we're putting it on the market the week of Thanksgiving. We can try to squeeze one weekend ahead. Let's go fast. And if it doesn't work, plan on being on the market 3 weeks. Different expectation. But the reality is my client has to sell their property. They're not going to hold it as a rental. They're moving in January. We have to sell the house. Keep that in mind when you have a buyer. Keep that in mind when you're going to your listing appointments. What
Alex,
other things are you guys seeing?
On that real quick, Alex, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Have you started or had any conversations with clients when you're in a listing situation to where you plan out, if we're on the market 2 weeks with X, Y, and Z, we do a price decrease of this percent or this amount? Have you done that, or do you find that to be beneficial?
So I talk about that from the idea of a lot of it has to do with where you're listing. So if you go to a seller and a seller says, my house is worth $400,000 and I think it's worth 350. Okay. It's a friend, it's a family member, it's somebody I have a strong relationship with. It's going to be a listing I'm going to take. Hey guys, look, here's the option. You can skate to where the puck's going, or you can skate to where the puck is, right? An old Wayne Gretzky thing. But if you're going to try to shoot for that big number, let's create a plan of what the next 30 to 60 days looks like in the instance that you cannot sell your home. And so what people will want to say is, well, I don't want to just reduce it to reduce it. Guys, it's an open dialogue. But if we can put it in a contract that says in 2 weeks, we're going to reduce the price of our house, or in 2 weeks, we're going to cut it to this. And then 2 weeks after that, we're going to cut it to that. Those types of things hold people accountable to the conversation. As an agent, it makes you make that phone call to say, hey guys, look, we're getting really good activity. We got to take the price down. Well, oh my gosh, don't you think somebody's right there around the corner? If they're right around the corner, this reduction is going to get that done. They're going to come through the door. They're going to write that offer then. And ultimately, what is your goal? Asking sellers this question all the time. You want to sell your house? You want to list your house? Tough question. But when you ask it in a room with partners, with one person, they're always going to go, well, yeah, I want to sell it. I want the most money. I want it to happen the fastest. Can you organize the order of what you want to accomplish that? Mm-hmm. Well, I want to get the most money first, but I want to do it in the fastest period of time. Okay, cool. We're going to try this number. And then in 2 weeks or in 7 days, we're going to reduce the price by $5,000 or $10,000 or 5 or 10%. I think that stuff is awesome, Austin. I think it creates accountability to the conversation. Because what you get to go back to is when we were in your living room talking about putting your house on the market, we agreed to this strategy to let you try your price. And if it doesn't work, we're going to reduce into the number that I think your house is valued at.
Great.
It's how you play fair in the sandbox, right?
To build off of that, I've had success at listing appointments or after sending net sheets at different amounts. And then I've learned from Drew to say, like, if when you purchased this house, you knew that you were selling it for $100,000 more, or you would net $100,000, would you have believed me then? So kind of setting the precedent of like, you're still netting so much money.
Yeah, it's a harsh reality too, right? Like one of the things I think is super interesting is if you look and said you were going to take $380,000 and put it into the stock market, I think right now, if somebody did that, it would make them incredibly uncomfortable because the volatility of the market, right? But if you said in 2018, you're going to put $300,000 into the stock market, and in 2022, you're going to cash out $400,000 and you get to live for free, would you do it? Oh, heck yeah, I would. That's where we are, guys. What's the problem? Help me understand the challenge here as to why we're not aligned with this being a massive success. Well, my neighbor sold for this. Those are the conversations and the objections that we're going to start getting. And the reality is, guys, it's important to show the data. We now have a great screenshot of 6 months of data. If rates started to rise in May, we're 6 months out. So if you run a 6-month CMA, you're going to get comparables that tier closer to what the market is now. And those really high overinflated prices that homes were getting are further and further away. So when somebody says my neighbor got that in the beginning of the year, it's our job to show that data that says, guys, look, in the last 3 months, the house across the street sold for this, the house next door sold for that, and the house 3 doors down sold for this. I know your neighbor got that, but that was 6 months ago. Had you called me, I would have got you that. It's important to skate where the puck is going, guys. Otherwise, you're going to get stuck with stale listings. And it's why you'll hear the conversation in the market right now. Gosh, I just want more buyers. Over the last 3 years, I didn't want a buyer. I just wanted listings. Listings were guaranteed commissions. This is why. There's hard conversations, there's education, there's data you need to analyze, and there's a proactive nature that you need to take with the listings that you do have. Who else has a question or anything they want to jump in on?
What about listings that are kind of going stale? Like you feel like they're priced right, and you're just not getting activity on it. Don't necessarily want to drop the price. If so, it would be very minimal amount / oh, well, I might just rent this out if I can't get it sold. So like, I'm just looking for perspective on what you might do in a scenario like that.
Yeah. Are you talking about stuff in like downtown?
No, actually it's on the north side. I've got a condo that's just kind of been sitting and it's priced pretty competitively, or at least I think so. It's not at all the highest, but it's like a townhome in a condo complex. And it's just been sitting there. We've gotten some activity. We're getting some here or there. But that's kind of the situation. Like I'm just waiting on a showing here or there, and I'm not seeing a whole lot, and nobody's really pulling the trigger. I probably had, let's say 10 showings total, and I've only had one person really give it any sort of negative feedback.
Is your feedback consistent at all?
Yeah, it's consistent in a matter of what I'm hearing is love the house, love the updates. Buyers just getting started in their search. I've had several people state that.
Have you called those buyers back?
Pretty much all of them, and nobody's really ready to jump off the hook. So I don't know, or jump off the ledge here and take a chance. So I don't know if I'm saying the wrong things or what. But yeah,
Telling them to jump off the ledge.
Not just take a chance.
Yeah, right. No, I'm with you.
A solid spot.
So have you called? Is there anything like it in the community? Are you the only one that's actively on the market?
No, there's two others that are active, and ours is the highest of those two others that are active. But there was a lesser condo that sold that went live just before us. It sold like the week before we went live for like $2,000 less, and I felt like ours is significantly better, or at minimum the same. And we're two
Rob,
grand higher
is
now.
this Colfax? Are you talking about
Yeah.
Colfax?
Mhm.
You've been on the market for 57 days. So
Mhm.
yeah. Have you reached out to the HOA community and or seen if they have a Facebook group? Try and get yourself into those inside groups of people who know people. Because if you can find the
Mhm.
advocates who already live in that community, who know other people who may want to live in that community, and this is what I run into with the Traders Point townhomes all the time, is to try to find that different angle of where we're just putting on the market's not working. But if you can get somebody in the inside who has a Facebook group or there's a community page or something, and drum up the business in that way, that's something that I found to be successful. Or call the HOA management company. Sometimes they have their own platforms and they can push your listing in a different way to other HOA communities that might be beneficial.
Okay.
Rob, why is the house on the market? Like have they bought a house?
So this is it's an investor client that his intention was to either sell it if he can make 15% on it, which I think he can, based on the numbers that we ran, or rent it out. And so that's kind of the pressure that I guess I'm up against is, right now we're feeling like, man, maybe it is a better time for him to rent it out. But that's ultimately why. So he's starting his portfolio, and this is essentially his test one to see, all right, can we make this kind of money if we do these improvements and buy and then rehab?
Yeah, and you put it on the market. So 57 days ago is like September, when rates were super volatile, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, guys, I think one thing we need to get comfortable with as agents, is understanding the reality. Are you guys in this for the deal today? Are you in this for advocates and clients for a lifetime? So, Rob, imagine this, right? Like you're pushing this guy. I don't know, man. He's going to start wondering. And what you don't want to have happen, right? Is Rob the guy for me? Is Rob doing the right stuff? Can Rob sell my house? Maybe the best conversation that you get to have with him right now is, why don't we put this on a 6-month rental and get to a spring market when we have more stability? We'll give the tenant the option to extend their lease, or you can put the house on the market when there's leaves on the trees and it's a better time of year. Or, hey man, we're striking out with this. Here's your 3 options. We sit and wait, which we're doing. I'm making phone calls. I'm holding open houses. I'm sharing it in my sphere. I'm posting to social. 2, we take the price down 10 grand. Yes, it's below, but you make 13% instead of 15%, or you make 14% instead of 15%. Do you care about 1%? Do you care about 2%? Or take it off the market and rent it. Let's try this again next year. There's too much volatility and uncertainty, and it's impacting the buyer's desirability to come in and purchase it at the price you need. You're
Rob,
paid to have
Rob, use your experience. Like, explain to him what you're seeing with your buyers. Like, hey, here's what my buyers are seeing when they go into houses, and explain to him that you see it from both sides and that you're able to educate from both directions. And maybe this is the time of year for rent, or find a short-term rental, or can we get somebody in there for 6 months and relist the sucker in May, something like that. Just use the fact that you are in the trenches on both sides of this and understand the market.
We have to get, guys, I'm telling you, you have to get comfortable saying, look, this isn't the best thing for Rob is to get an offer on that house today. It's commission check before the end of the year. You got him as 15%. You look like the man. You're grinding it out. What you told him sticks. I knew it would work. I believed in this. I did the task, right? I did what's best. But maybe the reality is that what's best for him is to rent the house for another year. And oftentimes as realtors, we get so caught up in this chase of a deal that we keep working for the deal. Look, like if it ain't going to sell, don't burn the bridge of the relationship. build a relationship for a lifetime and just, I mean, call him. Hey man, one thing you talked about is potentially putting a rent sign in the yard. We're coming down the pipe on Thanksgiving. The weather sucks. The leaves are off the trees in the back of the complex. It doesn't look as nice around here. What are your thoughts on a 6-month to 12-month lease and giving this a shot next year? Maybe he'll say, I really don't want to do that anymore. Okay. Here's a couple other options. Let's take it down 10 grand. We'll be lower than anything else in the community. I know that's below what you had targeted, but don't you have goals to use your money for something else? If he wants to get 15%, he wants to put that money into something else. There's another vehicle that he's not going to put it in his checking account.
Yeah. I mean, this is definitely a long-term client. I mean, he has goals and aspirations of continuing down this path. We just have to do it in the right way. So I mean, I love what I'm hearing in terms of steering him in the directions, you know, that he needs or maybe even should go at this point based on what we're seeing.
Is the house vacant?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is there anything in the house that like needs to be done? Is there any feedback like, oh, the paint sucks or the kitchen's dated or anything like that?
Yeah. The only thing that he didn't update prior to putting it onto the market was the kitchen. So it was a big one. It was going to be a really big expense, but he literally took this, updated the flooring in terms of the carpet, upstairs, the bathrooms. I think, and I've been telling him he should probably paint the cabinets at a minimum because they're old. They're the brown ones. They don't look great. And there's backsplash that he could do or countertops, but then you're talking a decent chunk of money. Will he be able to get what he wants out of it for what he's putting into it with that stuff? But we've even talked about that with potential buyers, like, hey, this could be on the table, like with a reasonable offer. You know, bring us something.
So
and nobody's brought anything.
Why don't you do this? Why don't today, personal challenge, accountability to the group here, call this client and say, let's meet at the condo. I got some ideas. I just want to get together. I want to sit in the space. I think it'll help us be creative. It'll help me be more aligned with what you want to accomplish. And I can help you better. Let's meet there. When do you have an hour to go to the condo, townhome, get on the same page?
Perfect.
Get in front of them. Show them how much you care, because you do. Provide all the options. And look, 57 days on the market, the motivation of somebody, his why and his goals are likely different. If he says, I'm going to rent this thing, well, now he's going to try to rent the property in a terrible rental time.
Yeah.
So like this guy's cornered himself into a lot of pretty poor options. So what is the best of the poor option that he gets to choose? And that's all subjective, right? Like it's not your job to tell him what he needs to do. It's your job to present the data and the facts to say, hey, look, like we're just in a different market right now. Things are taking a little bit longer. Buyers are a little more on the fence. Here's what I'm hearing from my buyers, like Daniel said. What do you want to do? And if you're right in front of him, he's going to tell you the truth a lot better than over a text or on the phone. Come on, Rob. Why aren't you holding open houses?
Yeah.
The
We're
double-edged
always
sword
challenging
too.
our buyers. Oh, go ahead, Austin. I'll let you go first.
No worries. The double-edged sword with townhomes is that your direct comp is next door. So there's two properties in there, Rob, that I just looked up that are listed at 230 and they got 240 for them. There's a 245 listed and sold at 245. The kitchen was updated. So the price is everything sells for a price. Libby Somerville 101, everything sells for a price.
Yeah.
So it literally comes back to that. And so if you can have that direct conversation with him and just look at the comps, they speak for themselves. And so that's what any other realtor that's worth their salt is also looking at. Just what I picked up and looked at in the span of 2 to 3 minutes. 230 is the price on that, and so you're going in high and or higher than what the comps are, and then the kitchen's not updated. Your staging's great, the photos are great, all the things that you as a realtor bring and add value, you've nailed, and you do it consistently. The direct comp is because it's townhome.
Yeah. And you're totally cool to go to him and say, we tried it at this number in a different market, we would have got this. I still think we can. It ain't happening. And I'm as frustrated as you are. Let's put together a plan now. Okay, let's get through Thanksgiving. If we're not sold by then, By the Thursday of Thanksgiving, the following Monday, we'll do a price reduction of $10,000. Man, that's more than I want to do. You want it sold? You want it listed? Come on, let's take a swing at this. If we don't sell it, then you can rent it.
Yeah. All right. I will make the call and let you know when the appointment is, and we'll follow up and we'll keep this, keep kicking the can down the road.
With these sellers, guys, people are sitting back. And if your house isn't sold, like we have a listing of ours, we've sold 3 times, fallen apart every single time. No fault to the seller, all fault to the buyer. Buyers have defaulted. We've all sold at 425 or more, and we're currently sitting on the market at 415. And you can feel like the angst and the uncertainty from our client. And it's like, we've done 2 open houses. We've done 3 open houses in which we've had north of 30 groups through the house. We've had 6 showings since we last relisted it. Sometimes patience is key. And if you don't have patience, what's the number that's just so your bottom that, and guys, you're paid to have these challenging conversations. If it's, would you go to $399 to sell your house? Oh, absolutely not. I would never do that. If it meant you got an offer over the weekend, would you do it? Let me call you back. Right? Like, you have to put it out there. Like, this market is not our fault. This market is not anything that we did. So you can't hold that on your shoulders. You have to go to the seller and just say, here are the facts. What is best for you? It's what you're paid for.
Mhm.
Who else? Somebody else jump in and talk about some things they're experiencing.
Yo, I'm working with Daniel right now, and our team knows the situation, but I think we're starting to see that first round of the price that sellers are paying well over list price in the spring that are moving much sooner than they thought they were going to. And now they're on the hot seat. We're kind of in a situation now that we know what they bought it for in the spring and what we just went under contract for. And I mean, the seller might be writing a check at the end of this if it actually goes through.
Yeah, those are going to be, guys, it's going to be incredibly challenging. One of the things you always have to look at too, and there's a graceful way to have this conversation. Like, everybody was comfortable doing what they had to do to buy houses over the last 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
They were. And so if you have to move now, there's definitely going to be some inconveniences that people deal with. But just like when they bought that house, those conversations that we would have with people, one of the questions I would ask buyers, one of the first times I met them, how much money do you have? How much money do your parents have? Do you have any siblings with a lot of money to help you? And they'd always look at you like you were nuts. But then when you would explain waiving inspections, appraisal gaps, overlist price, buyers like, oh yeah, I'll call my parents. Oh yeah, this. Oh yeah, we don't have that. Oh, can we do a bridge loan out of our home? Okay. Right. So some of this is like, you have to go to them and say, do you have to move? In Craig's instance, we're purchasing the home. The seller has to move. You chose to buy the house a year ago, overpriced.
What Craig is talking about and what Alex is talking about is, it's interesting. This client is using the same realtor to list the house that they used to buy it. And this realtor is coming at us and he's really upset and he's angry. And we're kind of reading the tea leaves in that, hey man, you didn't guide your client appropriately when it came time to buy this house. And now they're frustrated that when they're selling it, they're in a bad place. Well, you told us that you didn't ask for anything on the inspection, but we have an inspection here from 9 months later that says that you should have asked for several things. And I'm sorry that you didn't, and I'm sorry that you didn't educate your client well enough, but here's where we're at and we're all you have. And you can tell us to go away and we will, and we'll go find something else, but your seller is going to be in the same position each and every time. And this is nobody's fault. This is a market condition shift, and this is a lack of education from you to your client.
It's incredibly important, guys, to be educating your clients when you're getting ready to put a sign in the yard, when you're getting ready to write an offer for a buyer, right? And what's unfortunate for our client here is that they could lose the inspection money because the seller is ignorant. They could lose appraisal money. They could be out $1,000 on the deal, not for any faults of their own. That's the cost of doing business right now. And we have to be comfortable setting those expectations and having those conversations with buyers and sellers. It's all about communication. Had this guy, when he put the house on the market, said, hey, look, like, Rates are through the roof. Things are totally different. Buyers are gaining leverage. It's more of a balanced market. Guys, a balanced market means everybody loses a little bit, just like everybody wins a little bit.
When you guys were writing offers for the last couple of years, how many of you said to your clients, are you going to be in this house for the next couple of years, the next 2 to 3 years, next 3 to 5 years? That question for me to them was always, because if you're going to be writing this offer, you need to be prepared to let the house value catch up to what you're paying for it. Because at the end of the day, this was never sustainable. And I had those tough conversations all the time, and people would be like, this is a short-term play for us. Well, honestly, offering over list price, if you're only going to be here for a year, may not make sense for you on this one then.
So what's interesting in similarity, Daniel, I've always asked the question, if you needed to move, would you be comfortable cranking a home equity line of credit on this, turning it into a rental property and going and buying something else? Are you in a position to be able to do that? Again, it goes back to, do you have to move? Do you want to move? Well, I just want the capital out of the house. Well, in this instance with Craig, that seller is going to bring money. Can you just turn it into a rental? Pay to have the inspection repairs done because there are major defects in a house that you own, and that's part of homeownership. And can you bridge the gap for a little bit, turn your house into a rental? Well, I'm moving to another market and I want to buy a home. I talked to a seller yesterday that said, Alex, we're going to sell this home. We're going to move to another market and we're going to wait a couple of years. We're planning to sign a 2-year rental lease. Okay, good for you. But it gives that stability and it gives that direction. Like if we can't get a number that they want to sell at, they always have the option to go, Alex, we're just going to rent this back. We're not going to get the capital, but we're just going to go sign a rental lease for a couple of years and we'll call you in 12 months to sell our house. Okay. Maybe it'll be different. Maybe it won't. It's a line I always use: provide the facts and get out of the way. There's certainly times that our buyers will do things that make us cringe. There's certainly times we have sellers that will do stuff that make us cringe, but it's not our job to make those decisions for them. It's our job to provide the data as to what we believe is the best and let them decide and then support that decision. And if it's a constant fight against them to try to do what you're paid to do, well, sometimes you need to fold your cards and send a mutual release of the relationship and move in a different direction. And that's okay too. Are you doing it for the check today, or are you doing it for a lifetime of relationships? You will have buyers now that will go out and will look at 25, 30, 50 houses. Get ready for it and make them your best friends and learn to love it. Because that's what our job is. The days of one house and an offer and waived inspections and appraisals and getting your check in 30 days. And the hardest thing you have to do is navigate how somebody's going to pick up keys with post-closing possession. See ya. We're going to have to grind through the market a little bit here. And it's what will keep people in the business, the good ones that embrace it and love it and who care and do this for a real reason. The people that don't like it or have been in the market a long time or don't know how to do it, they'll phase out the market very quickly because it is hard work. Contrary to what everybody believes, we have very important jobs that are very challenging. Who else has something? Man, quiet room. Austin, you're on mute.
I said I've got something that's a little off, going like piggybacking on what you just said. So what are we doing to balance family life, holiday, all the things that come in with this time of year and still be the business powerhouses that we know we can be?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And it's the idea of balance is something I've talked about before. And I think we all dream of balance. And balance is when it's, here's the scale and it's like this. And I think oftentimes as realtors, we go like this and then like this and then like this. And this is what our balance is. I think it's, we talked about it on business planning last week. Getting crystal clear about what you want to accomplish next year is very important. Understanding that the work that you do today are the results you'll see 30, 60, 90 days out. but also getting comfortable with those things. If you're burnt out right now and you're leveraged at the max and your spouse is looking at you saying, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? You told me it wasn't going to be like this. This is family time. If you start compromising those things that are your priorities of your life, take a step back, and you have to be comfortable with it. And you have to make sure the goals that you have align with all the priorities of your life. For me, like having twins at home, the hours of 5 to 7 p.m., when oftentimes we get a ton of work contact, is like a witching hour. It gives me, it is a nightmare. Alex, it's family time. Michael threw up. Can you change Willa? Alex, can I call you about an inspection response? It's like, yes, I'll do everything. I just don't know when, you know? And so getting crystal clear about the goals that you want to accomplish, Austin, is the first thing. And then creating the non-negotiables in your schedule. So for our team, one thing we do next week, we use this time to build our business for next year. There's less of a push this year to like ram deals home at the end of the year and get that interest rate at 2.5% before it changes on January 1st, or the speculation that it may. This year, it's like, how can you start laying the bricks and the foundation for 2023? And it's different. So we're doing an event next week to deliver 575 pies to our past clients, friends, and family. Takes 3 days. All hands on deck. It's going to be an awesome deal, and people are going to be ecstatic. There's going to be great marketing that trails behind it, but it's a really nice touch point for our clients. And I know that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, I have nothing on my calendar except delivering pies. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, family time. So creating the non-negotiable balance. And then it goes back to the question that I asked 4 or 5 calls ago, and I put Rob on the spot. If it's Thursday and it's Friday and it's family time and a buyer wants to go look at a house, you got to make your own decisions about what's best for you and what's best with your family. But it's about communication and clarity to understand, I can't do this, or I'm simply not willing to. The days where, you know, the drop and run to a showing may not be that. Hey, I want to see this house. They're thumbing on Zillow and found something that's been on the market 600 days. That exists. They're out there. Hey, let's go look at it. How about Sunday? It's Thursday. Yeah, I know. I talked to the realtor. There's not a ton of buzz around it. I'm with family. I would encourage you to do the same. Does Sunday work for you? Oh, I really want to go look today. I can't do it today. You want me to connect with your realtor that can? And be totally comfortable with that. I've showed the houses on the holidays. It's never worth it. Creating your non-negotiables, and the same commitments you make to your business are the same commitments you make to your family. Anybody else have any questions?
This kind of has nothing to do with what we've been really talking about, but I had a client this morning text like, hey, when it comes to listing the house, like I'm trying to get my schedule planned out. Is there an ideal day? Like I know the past has always been, you know, throw it on Friday and let it go for the weekend and it's gone by Monday. But now is like, is there any more strategy planned in there of eyes on it leading into a weekend, like earlier in the week, or just kind of going about the same as always?
Depends what the property is, I think. Depends what the urgency of the seller is. It depends how much time they need to prepare it. So like for us, we're putting the house on the market on Friday for me, because we didn't think it was a good idea to list the week of Thanksgiving. And essentially by listing Friday instead of waiting till the following Monday, we gain 10 days of market time in one weekend that people I think will be active in the market. It's a chance we wanted to take to accomplish the goals that they want. But if you have like a perfect week and a clean slate and all that stuff, Craig, I think there's a preparation and a foundation delay that makes everybody feel comfortable. One thing we've done a lot of is like, we'll take pictures beginning part of the week, like Tuesday-ish, Wednesday-ish. We'll get the house prepared, finalized, ready to go Wednesday, Thursday. And right now, I would tell you, just put the house on the market. If you get a bunch of activity, you can be reactive to that process, but there's so much uncertainty in so many neighborhoods. I think all of us have been guilty of this, where a house will go on the market that we think will not sell quickly. And all of a sudden there's 10 or 15 offers or 10 or 15 showings. And it's like, holy cow, what do I do? Slow down, set a deadline, give everybody a chance to walk in the door, run your communication, set a deadline of a couple days out. Is that Sunday? Is it Friday? Is it Thursday? Ask your seller what they want to accomplish. Hey, there's 10 showings lined up today. Do you want to let this play through the weekend? Oh my gosh, I just want to be home. I'm so exhausted from the holidays. Can we just sign one of these offers? There's your answer. Every situation's different. I don't like listing a property on a Monday or a Tuesday. But if somebody writes a contingent offer on a Saturday and you're trying to slam this baby on the market, sometimes you just got to go. We put a house back on the market recently on a Saturday. Hey, Alex, is it odd that we're not getting any showings? What were you doing this weekend? Not looking at houses. You know, that's okay. All of a sudden Monday hits, here comes a showing, there goes a showing, they're for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Okay, cool. We're back in the saddle. It's all about communication and expectations with your clients. Anybody else? Guys, thanks so much for tuning in. This was a fun one because it's all very different and everybody's kind of learning on the fly. I would tell you, keep at it. Make sure you take some downtime around the holidays. We've all had a pretty challenging year with kind of the roller coaster of the market. Make sure you spend time with people that are important to you. Let them know how much you appreciate their tolerance of our business and the support they give us, and keep at it.
Hey,
We
Alex.
will not have a call next week. And then we'll pick up the following week. And after that, I think I need to look at the calendar, but 1 or 2 calls before the end of the year is all we're going to do. We'll let you guys kind of taper down on this and get prepared for 2023. So thank you guys very much and happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you in a couple weeks.